Utility nodes are nodes that can be used to enhance textures. The ones that I'm going to be using are Arnold utilities, which you can find in here. There are an awful lot of utility nodes, and again, to keep life simple, we'll really only be using a few of them. The first one that I want to use is the AI range node. The AI range node serves as either a dampener or an increaser of the effect of your 2D texture. To explain this, I will start by connecting the fractal to the base color of my AI standard surface node. When my render restarts, I'll see the fractal pattern distributed across the surface of my egg. And yes, I can make edits to that by coming into the 2D texture, giving it more repeats or fewer repeats. I could make edits by coming into the fractal node and adjusting these attributes, but there are a lot of them, and they're never going to do anything more than this slider. Amplitude will slide between 0 and 1. The AI range node will allow me to increase that. To use it, what I'll do is I will connect the out color of the fractal to the input of the AI range, and then the out color of the AI range to the base color of the AI standard surface node. At first, you won't see a difference in the render. With the AI range node, what I can do is I can adjust my levels, almost like a histogram in Photoshop. So I've got an input min, and you'll see that that makes the incoming blacks a lot darker. I've got an output max. That makes the outgoing brights a lot brighter. So by adjusting these, I have a much greater range of contrast. The AI range node is incredibly useful in this respect. The other fun thing is that as a utility node, it can accept all different types of input. So if I wanted to take the fractal and replace it with the noise, all I have to do is take the out color of the noise and move that in to the input of the range, and now I will be sourcing from my noise node. I can use the ramp the same way. So the AI range is a fun way to really increase the input and output values that you're getting from your 2D textures. While I'm talking about the range node, I'm going to use a utility that can be found in either Arnold or in Maya's utility nodes. That is a Bump 2D node, and I think I will be using a Maya Bump 2D. What the Bump 2D node does is it will take black and white data and turn it into either a bump or a normal map, depending on the type of data you're inputting. In this case, we're using black and white data, so I will be using this as a bump map. The Bump 2D node has an input of bump value. You'll see that bump value is green, which means that it only accepts single channel output. It has an out normal value. The out normal connects over here to the AI standard surface's normal camera. Because there is no input, the Bump 2D node will not affect the scene, and I will disconnect my AI range node so that we can see more clearly. I'm going to take my AI standard surface and make it white so that it's easier to see. And now I can go from any of these out colors. If I open up their plus box, that will give me single channel data. I can bring that in here and connect it to the bump value, and now you'll start to see that I get some surface texture on my egg. It's rendering pretty slowly, but I think that that's because I'm using this screen capture software. Aha, there we go. Look at all of that surface texture. I may get a more pronounced result if I use the AI range node, because the AI range node does have a greater range of data. In this case, I think I prefer just using that noise node. That's giving me an interestingly tinfoil-like result. So I'm a big fan. The third type of utility that we're going to be discussing is an Arnold utility only. The Arnold utility is the AI color jitter. A color jitter is a lot of fun. With this, I need to input color data. You can do this either by simply selecting a color input here in the color jitter node. We'll use purple. I'm going to connect its out color to the base color of my AI standard surface, and you'll see that that turns the AI standard surface purple. In the color jitter, I have a type. It is set to user data by default, but I can set it to procedural, object, or face. I'll set it to face for the moment, and then I will adjust my hue min and hue max. Again, my render is moving pretty slowly. But now you can see that every single face gets a different color, which is kind of neat. It seems like maybe not that useful unless you really like this kind of confetti pattern, which maybe you do, and that's great. What the AI color jitter node is most used for, I will turn on all of my eggs, zoom out a little bit, just take all the eggs I've got, in object mode please. I will assign my AI standard surface to all of them by right-clicking on the AI standard surface in the graph area, and in my right-click menu using this Assign Material to Viewport Selection option. In the AI color jitter node, instead of using a type set to face, I'm going to set it to object. And now what I should be seeing, let's adjust my hue again, is that each of these should have a different color. I'm not seeing much color in them. I'm seeing little bits of color places. I know my render hasn't finished yet. Part of the problem might be that my bump 2D node is set up too high. If I click into the bump node, I have one usable attribute, and that is bump depth. The closer my bump depth is to 0, the more subtle the bump becomes. 1 is a very high bump. 0.1 is a little bit lower, but you will see bump values that go all the way down to 0.01 or even 0.001. And now I'm seeing more of the AI standard surface coming through. My color still seems a little pale, but I think that's because I'm using a pastel. If I go up to bright red, now hopefully I'll see a little bit more in my varying hues. As needed, I can also adjust my saturations, so I get some with stronger saturations and some with less saturation. Gain will increase or decrease the brightness. The other thing I can do with this is I can adjust the input and map another 2D texture. Again, you can use a file node, or I can use a node like this ramp. And now as my render progresses, I should see that dot pattern from the ramp displayed across each egg using a slightly different color pattern. I know it looks like my renders are taking a really long time. Again, I think that part of that is that I'm using this screen capture software, and I don't think that your renders will take all that long. Now, I'm not really happy with that. I think I'm going to reset a lot of my color jitter settings. And see if I can get something a little bit cleaner. Yeah, that looks a little better. So now I've got some pink ones and some green ones. And this is a nice way to take a single texture and use it for a lot of different objects and get a lot of different results. So those are the three nodes that we're going to be using: the range node, the bump node, and the color jitter node. In my next video, I'll show you some different ways to put them all together with the AI standard surface in order to get some really different results.